So I got an email from one of my clients saying that financial stress is really affecting my marriage. What should I do? It's not just about money. It's about safety. It's about control. It's about shame. Welcome back to the Secure Husband Podcast. Bruce Abbott, certified professional coach and founder of SecureHusband.com, the podcast where I help good men overcome life's challenges and lead with strength. Between COVID and our economy, finances are just taking a beating. Layoffs, wondering where your next paycheck is, wondering how in the world did I get here financially? And you're worried about all of these monetary issues. And in the middle of all of this is the stress and the toll it's taking on your marriage. And that starts triggering some really deep wounds inside. A fear of not having enough. You're carrying the weight of being the provider, or at least contributing to your part of the family income. That's stressful stuff, and it affects your marriage in ways you may not even realize. Much like sex, for men, money is also a barometer of self-worth. And when money is tight, some men start feeling less like a husband who can provide for his family and more like a failure. It's not always conscious. It's subconscious. And I know that feeling. COVID hit my wallet hard, and it took years to recover from that. And it created an incredible amount of stress in my marriage. But once you understand how financial pressure starts to erode emotional connection, then you can start to see that how your nervous system reacts when money is tight affects other areas of your life, especially your marriage. One of the guys I talked to this morning was talking about how earlier on in his marriage, he had a deal fall through. He almost lost everything financially, but the emotional toll it took on his marriage almost killed it. But he was able to rebuild. It's a really odd relationship between money, you, your wife, and your identity. So this was part of a recent conversation I had with one of my coaching clients where he was talking about this time in his life. You know, he had this successful business, he had a nice house, he had a family, he had a wife that he loved deeply, even though they were really having troubles with connection at that time. And then the financial stress just came like a tsunami and just took over their marriage. Slowly things started, tightening up. And he was telling me about how he had clients that were ghosting him and credit cards. They were having to live off credit cards, and those started to kind of, the balances creep up and the interest rates, and he had a savings cushion, and they went right through that, and he was dipping into his 401k. And his wife, who already struggled with anxiety, started spiraling. And he told me about how every conversation that he had, it turned into a fight. She was snapping at the kids. She was snapping at him. He was walking on eggshells. And the worst part of it, he told me that I couldn't tell her how scared I was because I was supposed to be the rock, the man, the provider. But inside, I was scared. And we just brought up that conversation. We're going through his past, just as some background as we started working together. The thing is financial stress isn't just about dollars and cents, okay? It's about emotional safety. And when that safety disappears, because marriages are really built on emotional safety, emotional trust, when that erodes, everything in your marriage starts to fray. If you're in that situation right now, because this economy sucks, just take a deep breath. And you can use the same process that we use with our wives and our identity. You can use this with your financial situation. So start by noticing. Just notice what you're feeling. Notice any pain that you're feeling over the situation, the helplessness. Just notice it without judgment. Don't blame yourself for, I should have done this or I could have done this. Just notice, okay? And then ask yourself, what story am I telling myself as I go through these financial challenges, okay? Subconsciously, it's failure. I failed. I failed as a husband. I failed as a man. I failed as a parent. I failed as a provider. That's at the core, right there. Subconsciously, deep inside, you feel like a failure. That's what you're embodying down at your core. I mean, you might tell yourself, we need to adjust our budget. This is a tough season. We're going to get through it. You might be saying that, but down inside, there's a core wound that feels like a failure. Because money isn't just money. For a lot of men, money is that barometer of identity and self-worth, just like sex. So we use money as a measure of identity, of masculinity, proof that we're worthy. So when things get tough financially, it's more than just a threat to your bank account. It threatens your sense of self. And this is where you have to realize you're not just anxious about money. If it's affecting your marriage, it's a fear inside that your wife won't see you as man enough anymore. We just did a podcast on Am I Man Enough? But this is what you have to notice. You have to notice the stories that you're telling yourself. Because you don't tell yourself these things consciously most of the time. It's subconsciously. But you have to notice this. Just bring that subconscious to the conscious. Notice it's not just surface stress about money, but it's a deep shame underneath. And then you make a choice. You choose to care about what you're feeling instead of just trying to solve it. So what does that look like? We're men. We are fixers. So when financial stress shows up, we go into fix-it mode. More hours at work, side hustles, cut everything out of the budget. We try to white-knuckle our way through it. From a strategic perspective, those are valuable things, yes. When we're talking about numbers, spending less, finding ways to make more money, absolutely great ideas. But if you're only focused on fixing the money, without facing the fear or the shame or the pressure underneath, you're only going after half of the problem. So if you're going through this situation, I want to challenge you to do something. It's going to feel very awkward to you. Stop fixing for a minute and just start feeling, okay? Maybe journal if you're good at this. Journal every day about what money means to you. Power, freedom, love, safety, approval. And then every night, just look at that journal. Look at what you wrote. Ask yourself, what emotion is present right now beneath this money stress, beneath those list of items? Some nights it'll be fear. Some nights it's going to be anger, frustration. Some nights it's going to be shame. But start naming it. The emotion starts to lose its grip when you give it a name because you stop running from the fear and you look at them as just words on a page and it stops chasing you. Now, if you're a regular listener to this podcast, you probably are telling yourself, he's probably going to equate this to the inner boy and the child inside. And you're absolutely right. Because where do feelings of shame come from? You're not born with shame. Somewhere you learned and were conditioned to feel shame. So yes, these feelings during financial hardship do come from deep inside of you. And so you do meet that younger little boy inside of you. In previous podcasts, when we talk about relationships, you might associate that affection, attention, sex equals safety and love. Here, you're making the association that money equals safety and love. So when you can trace your anxiety about money all the way back to when you were a child, maybe you grew up in a household where money was always tight. My parents always seemed to be in a financial mess. So for me, money meant peace. Money meant happiness. Lack of money meant anger, meant stress, meant yelling parents. If you grew up in a household where money caused fights every night, with parents screaming at each other about bills, you heard arguments about why do you spend so much? Or why are you such a cheapskate? If you remember seeing your mom crying at the kitchen table because we can't afford this, we can't afford that, how am I going to buy groceries? If you grow up with that as like a daily mantra, as a child, you feel responsible for some of that, whether you have any say whatsoever. It's that emotional burden that you take on as a kid. And subconsciously, you've brought that into adulthood. Because when you were a child, your survival mechanism would be, if I could be just a little bit less of a burden, maybe things wouldn't be so hard. I won't do this so that they can have more money. I remember one time where I would not buy lunch when I was given lunch money because I was so afraid that maybe we might need this money. So I would save it. I wouldn't eat lunch. But many of us have that story. So now, years later, whenever money got tight, that little boy took over. And his marriage becomes the stage for those old wounds to play out. That would trigger her anxiety. And then he'd shut down and she'd spiral. And all of those relational elements start adding into all the financial hardships. And it's not because they were bad people. It's just they're both reacting from old wounds. So we have to guide ourselves to something powerful. We do talk to that inner boy inside. We imagine that 10-year-old boy and we say, you're safe now. Look, you're not responsible for keeping everyone afloat. I'm here. I've got us. I will take care of us. And that soothes that little boy inside. That soothes your inner core, your feelings, your deep sense of worth inside. Because now you don't have to prove anything. You just have to learn how to hold his fear instead of running from it. And then when you do those surface level things, adjusting your expenses, working out a budget, looking for other sources of income, those now can come without feelings of shame. Now, its effect on your marriage, look, if your wife is a worrier, maybe she always has been, but when money got tight, that really blew up. Everything becomes urgent. Everything's a crisis. Everything is your fault, or at least maybe it feels that way. You work on a mindset shift as you heal that inner boy. You go to divine guidance. You go to your higher power. You talk about this. What is the next aligned, loving action I can take, not only from a financial perspective, but from an emotional perspective, for me, for my marriage, for my family. Even if she is anxious, her panic is not proof that you're a bad husband. It's a reflection of her nervous system, maybe her history, her wounds, her need for control, and emotional safety. Because money and safety, remember, they often go hand in hand. And it doesn't mean she's wrong for feeling afraid, but it also doesn't mean that you have to carry her reactions as truth. In all of the chaos, you have to learn to soothe your nervous system and stay grounded when everything's spiraling around you. And you breathe before you respond so you don't react out of anger or frustration. And you can validate her feelings, but without collapsing or losing yourself. You can say, babe, I hear you. I'm working on it. Instead of, I'm sorry. But slowly you stop internalizing her fear as evidence of your failure, and you start holding emotional space instead of absorbing blame and shame. So as you're doing the things financially that you need to do, budget, income, expenses, you take full responsibility for how you handle pressure. Again, without needing her to approve of it. Financial stress really tests your leadership. And leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about staying present under pressure, especially if you've always walked on eggshells. And I know a lot of guys that keep money issues secret. They do it to protect her, quote unquote, protect her. But really all you're doing is you're keeping it from her. It's a fear. You know her reaction if she finds out. All this does is creates disconnection. So you have to make a shift. You start having a regular state of the finances conversation with your wife, but you do it calm and clear and grounded. Share numbers, share plans, share concerns. Invite her into the process, not to get her approval, but to lead. Get her input. Let her have a say. You guys are a team. But you start saying things like, here's what I'm going to do about it. Here's what I need from you. Here's what I am going to work toward doing. And this is our goal. To ride through all of this. That's where you practice leadership. You're taking the lead. You're setting the tone in your marriage. She might freak out, but you stay grounded and you stay calm. You stop waiting for her to be okay before allowing you to feel grounded. You take ownership of it. And this allows you to lead with calm, strength, and clarity, no matter what the financial situation is, regardless of what the numbers say. Yeah, you're going to still have to make tough decisions, but you make the tough decisions from a place of security and peace, even when chaos is all around you financially, and you stop spiraling. And maybe this allows you to start sleeping better again. Maybe it allows you to start showing up for your wife and your kids with presence, not panic over finances. You're able to understand what's happening and understand, okay, here's the things I can control. finance, budget, expenses, extra income. But in this very moment, can I be present with my kids? Can I be present with my wife? Because the money situation may not just magically improve, but your home can feel calmer. You can feel stronger, more peaceful. And she can start emotionally trusting you in those tough situations. Your masculinity isn't tied to a paycheck. Your worth isn't measured by what you provide. It's revealed in how you lead through stress. You lead your marriage, you lead your family, you lead yourself. It has nothing to do with dollars and cents. Yeah, financial stress is real, but it's not just about the money. It's the fear that comes with it, the shame, the identity, and it's about leadership. You know, I've hit some really tough financial spots in my life, and I just want to let you know, with love, man, you're not alone, and you're not failing. You can do this, man. You can lead yourself and your family through this to a place of calm strength, even when the numbers suck. You can do this, man. I believe in you. Hey, I hope this podcast helped you. If you're a regular listener, would you give me a review? Subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Share it with someone who you think may need to hear this. And if you need help getting unstuck, visit securehusband.com. Set up a free 30-minute consultation with me. No sales pitch. I'll see you again in the next Secure Husband podcast. Thanks for listening.